I've compiled this video of my favourite 6 overdrive pedals to hopefully make it a bit easier for you when trying to navigate the seemingly never-ending world of overdrive pedals. I've included pedals from all kinds of price ranges, and you can find links to each one in the description below. I've also included chapters so that you can just compare the pedals that you're interested in, or feel free to sit back and enjoy the entire video. The Noble's ODR1 isn't a very expensive pedal, but at just £39, this Nobleman is less than half the price. And it's just over half the price of the Mini ODR1. Today, I'm going to run through some sounds with this inexpensive ODR1 clone from Tone City. I first heard this pedal in a shootout on the Anderson's music channel, and was honestly blown away with how similar it sounds to the original. The ODR1 was famously used by Gary Moore, Bryan Adams, Tim Pierce, and countless Nashville session players. It's far less recognisable than the Boss SD1 or the Ibanez Tube Screamer, and is said to be one of the guitar industry's best kept secrets. I love it. It seems to work especially well with the telly. It almost gives it a humbucker feel in the bridge. In the room, it seems to have a slight push in the lower mids. I'm not sure how well that will translate over YouTube. It compresses a bit more than I was expecting, and I really like that. It's not just a good pedal for the money, it's a good pedal either way. If you've heard of 633 Engineering before, then you probably know they make some of the very best guitar amplifiers on the planet. They constantly receive 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 in Guitarist magazine, but they're very expensive. We're talking 4K and upwards. Luckily, their pedals are far more attainable. This X3 multi-stage overdrive is £285, including delivery. Still a lot of money for a pedal, but a much more realistic entry point into 633 Engineering. The X3 is a single button overdrive with 4 knobs and 2 switches. A lot of traditional overdrives give a single tone or EQ control, but this pedal divides the tone into 2 controls. The low and mid frequencies are set with the control labelled body, and the one labelled byte takes care of the higher frequencies. The level and drive controls are pretty self-explanatory, and there's a wide range of control within the sweep of the controls. Control. The 2 switches are for buffer and pre-shape. For the buffer switch, the up position is the normal mode and the down position is the interactive mode. And this is what 633 have to say about the interactive mode. When the guitar is connected directly to the input with nothing else in between, no pedals or anything, tone will brighten as the guitar volume is rolled back, eliminating muddiness as the tone gets cleaner. If the guitar is not connected directly to the pedal, then this position offers an alternative brighter voicing. So it sounds like it works in a similar way to a treble bleed mod if your guitar is connected straight to the pedal, which is pretty cool. And the pre-shape switch engages a filter before the last gain stage and expands the tonal range of the X3. The up position is normal modes. They say this keeps a balanced tone when using amps that have a mid-scooped tone stack like a blackface or silverface Fender amp. And the down position is filter mode. They say this reduces mids and adds lows and highs to keep a balanced tone when using more of a mid-voice tone stack amp like a Vox or a Dumble style amp. And this and also to produce heavier tones when using mid-scooped amps. Is expensive, but it's probably one of my favourite overdrive pedals that I've played. It can do so much more than what you'd normally expect from an overdrive pedal. On a clean channel, it transforms it into a crunchy mid-gain extra channel with no fizz. It's full sounding without getting muddy. But the way I most often use an overdrive is laid onto an already distorted valve amp to add some compression and a tighter transient. And this does it better than any of my usual go-to pedals. They didn't send me this pedal or pay me to make this video. This pedal actually belongs to my friend Lewis at LT Custom Guitars, so I'm going to need to give this back to him in the next few days. But check out his incredible guitars. The Boss SD1 is 40 years old this year. It was released back in 1981, so what better excuse to make a video explaining why I love this little pedal. As a teenager, when I found out the Boss SD1 Super Overdrive was part of so many 80s rock guitarists' pedal boards helping them create their tones, I just had to have one, especially considering they were only £35 at the time. You can imagine my disappointment when I got it home, plugged it into my JCM 900, expecting to hear 80s high gain, over-the-top tones, just to hear a light distortion. Even with the drive knob on full, it was nothing like what I was expecting. I didn't understand the concepts of using it to push the front ends of an already crunchy amp. Not long after that, I managed to get a dual rectifier, which at that point was the most exciting thing ever. And when I plugged it in, so underwhelming. Nothing like the Tremonti-style high gain tones that I was anticipating. Eventually, with the help of online forums, I discovered the idea of boosting the front end of an amp. Level on full, drive on zero. And And there it was, instantly turning the rectifier into the amp that I wanted it to be. So the point I'm getting at is, for such a subtle and inexpensive effect, it can really drastically change the sound of your amp and really bring it to life. It removes some bottom end, which really helps your guitar fit into a sonically dense mix, especially when recording. I can happily use this pedal as an always-on effect, adding sort of cut and sustain to lead sounds and tightening up my rhythm sounds. I've been using this SD1 for the past 15 years, and its condition, it really shows. It's been on pedal boards, it's been rack mounted, it's been thrown about in a bag with other pedals. It's been dropped and it's still going just as strong as ever. Boss stuff tends to be indestructible, and this is no exception. Some people refer to this as the $50 amp mod, and I think that's a perfect description. I do have some amps that I feel don't really need that front end push, like the VH4 or the 5153. But even if I'm using one of those for a gig, I'll still bring this along just in case anything happens and I need to borrow another amp. It should make most amps usable in a heavy rock situation, unless it's something ridiculously clean like a Fender Twin. Then I might have a problem. It's such a basic and unglamorous pedal, but well worth it for the price that they are. At the moment, the SD1 is about £50 at Toman, $50 at Sweetwater. Even if you already have a Klon type or Tube Screamer type pedal that you're happy with, sometimes a little change is all you need to inspire some creativity. I know personally, I tend to write very differently depending on the gear or the tone that I'm using. I have to admit, I've never actually heard of Jose De Castro, and I tried not to check him out before trying this pedal, not out of like disrespect, but I just thought it'd be more fun to experience the pedal with no preconceptions. This could have been as mad as a Metal Zone or as low gain as a Klon for all I knew. And it turns out for me, this is quite a low gain pedal, unless you're stacking it on top of an already distorted or overdriven amp. In this video, I'll be mostly using a clean sound and layering this pedal on top. Firstly, thank you JOYO, for sending this to me. I really appreciate it. So it's a 2-button overdrive pedal. The left side turns off or on the overdrive sound, and the right side controls the boost function. Either button works independently, so if you're playing with an already overdriven amp, you could just use the boost function if that's how you want to use it. The boost is before the overdrive section, so don't expect a huge boost in volume, more of a gain boost, more of a juicy feel. Juicy, that's right, juicy. So the overdrive side here has a simple EQ band, a 2-band EQ that controls the treble and the bass. Remember that this is an overdrive, not a preamp pedal, so it works in conjunction with your amp's preamp section. So if you want to boost or cut the mids, for example, use your amp's controls. And the other 2 controls on the overdrive section are the drive level and the volume level, so the amount of gain or distortion and how loud or quiet you'd like it. The boost section has a single control that is labelled simply boost, so how much extra volume do you want to pump into the overdrive section or into your amp's preamp. Each channel, boost or overdrive, has its own bright LED so you can clearly see what's turned on or off. It's also true bypass, so won't affect your sound in a negative way when turned off, or at least gives you the choice of using your own buffer or not. And lastly, just like all the R-series pedals from JOYO, it has these really cool lights on the bottom that turn on and light up your pedal boards whenever you turn the effect on. Or you can have them on all the time with this, it's got a dip switch on the bottom so you can adjust that. Or you can turn them off so they don't turn on at all. I don't know why you would do that. I love it. So now I'm going to play you some sounds. I'm not going to use any other pedals in the chain except an MXR carbon copy for a bit of delay, and that'll be placed after the tornado. I think this is a great sound in overdrive, and it's not really what I would choose personally because 99% of the time I'm doing the high gain thing, but for what it's been designed for, it sounds amazing. It sounds organic and really lets the sound of you and your guitar shine through. It's built really well, just like all the JOYO R-Series pedals. I still wish that they hadn't used these fake chrome knobs as it kind of spoils the look a bit, but you could change those if it really bothers you. Oh yeah, they're about £75 or €89, which is a good price for what you get. It sounds good, it's well built, and it feels like it's going to last. The lights are really cool too. One of the key features of a Tube Screamer is that low cut that it gives you. It really helps clear up a congested tone and gives you the ability to push through more in a mix. But sometimes you just want that push and also want to retain that low end, especially if you're a one guitar band or playing alone. And the clever thing about this Antares drive from Tate Effects is that you can have the best of both worlds. You can high pass as much as you want by cranking the tone control, but you can also retain that big full original tone to really fill out the sound by mixing in some of the original unaffected signal. And that's by using this control here, which is labelled clean. The manual says, the clean control is the magic in this pedal. It's a parallel buffered dry blend. Fully counterclockwise is your pure buffered guitar signal. In this mode, none of the other knobs will do anything. As you move the knob clockwise, you're bringing more of the dirty signal in parallel with your dry signal. And some people may look at this feature and decide it's a solution to a problem that they don't have. For me, I'm constantly trying to balance that tone control to not take away too much from the core sound, and this is a perfect solution. And I would agree with the manual that this particular function is the selling point for this pedal. If you take away the clean control, it's a really good Tube Screamer style overdrive that sounds amazing. But there are plenty of Tube Screamers that sound good at pretty much any price point at this point. This feature really does set this pedal apart and takes it off the just another overdrive list. The other controls are gain, volume and tone, just like on any other overdrive pedal, but because it has that clean through control, it means you can really crank that tone control much higher than you normally would be able to give your sound plenty of cut, and then, as I mentioned earlier, compensate for the low end loss with the clean control. Aesthetically, it looks really good. It's a very good looking pedal. It's kind of weird. It's handmade in the UK using the best quality parts available. It can just be a Tube Screamer if you want that kind of thing just in a boutique, more exclusive package, but it's also much more than that too. This is about £200. The Ibanez 808 reissue is about £150, so if you're looking for that kind of thing, I'll go for this. It's a lot more interesting. I remember researching Klon Centaurs about 15 years ago, and it was when I first found out that Mark Tremonti was using them to boost his rectifiers and his Uber shells. I'd never heard of one before that, and seeing the roughly £300 price tag and knowing the going rate of an SD1 or a Tube Screamer, I just thought it was a bit ridiculous. If only I had a time machine. I'm sure you know what's happened since then, and if you've been living under a rock, then people are now asking £4,000, £5,000 and upwards. On Reverb, there's currently 4 available, ranging from £4,250 to £5,400. There's definitely no shortage of Klon clones right now, so let's check out this £39 version. It's called the Bad Horse, and it's from Tone City. I first became aware of this pedal on an Anderson shootout against the Real Thing. It held its own, and for less than 1% of the cost of the Real Thing, I had to try it out. I've never plugged into a real clon, and I'm not planning or expecting to anytime soon. So I can't tell you if it sounds like the real thing, but I can tell you this sounds really good. It's open, it's more transparent and less compressed than a lot of other overdrives. And if that's the kind of thing you're looking for, this is a really good option. It pushed the mids a little bit more than I was expecting, but that's not a bad thing at all. It feels like it's really well made and should last a very long time. Yeah, something internal could blow up tomorrow, I don't know, but it feels like it's built to last. It has a metal case and a decent quality switch.